RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.
Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the SportsHeads NBA edition, sponsored by RedZoneSports.bet. My name is Tori, and I have my beautiful co-stars here. We've got Steve, and we have Nick over there.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
So, we are here today, and we are going to kick right off. I'm just going to say, my boy. Need to say much more than that.
Thank you.
16 wins. Thank you. 16 wins for the Celtics.
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 Either one.
Either way. Depends where you're from. Anyway, guys, I'm obviously happy for my boy. What do you think?
I'm tired of talking about the Celtics. I literally am. I mean, this is November. What the hell is won in November? They've won 16 in a row. Big deal at the moment. Yeah, they're playing against, very good teams and all that, but am I still going to back them against the Cavs in the finals, in the Eastern Conference finals? No, absolutely not. Kyrie, Schmyrie.
Well, I think 16 wins is big. I mean,
I think it's big.
Yeah, I have a saying where, like, you get to the end of the season and they would say, the end of the season games are as important as regular season, early games. They would say, like, at the end of the year, we're 2 games out of the playoffs. Those are the most important games. These games are as important now. So for 16 and straight in any sport, going some kind of a streak is impressive, especially as a brand new team as well. That's why I keep going back to the fact that they're completely different than they were last year. And 16 straight. I mean, I don't have the list of everyone they've been playing. So there's a few bums in there, but I give them all the credit in the world. I'm amazed we're still talking about them undefeated, to be honest.
Well, there are a few bums in there. I mean, what do? They struggle to beat the Mavericks. Mavericks took them to overtime.
Yes, that is
true.
But
it's a streak.
They are a very new team. They're a young team, and I think there's obviously a lot of potential there. Without being too biased.
No, well, I don't want to sit here and say that I'm not on board with the Celtics. I mean, they are a very good team. They are going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But at the end of the day, I think we're putting too much on this streak right now. And it is only November. Sit here and talk to me in June. They've got to win 16 games. 16 is a magic number. 16-game winning streak in November means nothing. 16 wins in May and June, that means something.
But no, I don't know. I think they're both as important. In playoffs, it's more important, obviously. But
I think you just got to
win.
Playoffs.
Yeah, you've got to win. You have to win the game. So to win 16, if they would have been 15-1, we'd be saying that was a great streak. So 16, that's impressive.
No,
but it doesn't. I know what you're saying. It doesn't mean they're all of a sudden one of a powerhouse just because they've won 16.
I know where I'd rather win 16 games.
I completely agree with that. Completely agree.
So, you mentioned obviously the Cavs staying in the Eastern side. Cavs have now won 5 in a row. Are they regaining a little bit more of momentum? Obviously, they're playing the Celtics on the 4th of December, so I will talk at that point.
Right.
But your views before then?
Well, I kind of go almost the other way. 5 in a row isn't nothing. Counters what I was saying with the 16 in a row, but this team is not going to be judged in the regular season. I mean, LeBron, they can easily win 5 in a row. To me, that means nothing. It's good, obviously, to win the games, and that team is a new team as well, too. So every time you get a win and you're meshing, you're learning from that, and it's only going to help down the run. I'm not going to say they're now, any better than they were a week ago just because they've got a few wins. For me, they're the same team no matter what.
Yeah, but they are slightly different in the fact that they've been one of the worst teams in the NBA defensively. During this run, they've been the 8th best team during this run. So it's obviously they're getting some of the defensive struggles sorted out. They still haven't got Thomas back yet. Thomas is not due back until the middle part of December. But it's just trying to find themselves. I agree with what you say, Dave. The Cleveland Cavaliers don't worry about the regular season. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they want to have a team that can play well come playoff time. That's what they want to do. They are all about the 16 wins in May and June, not about the 16 wins in November. I think the thing is that I would say about this is that one of the big issues they've still got, and I was astonished when I looked at this, is that Derrick Rose defensively is an absolute nightmare for them. He's doing more damage for them when he's actually on the court, when he's off of it. They're 12 points worse defensively. He's ranked 426 out of 433 players in the NBA defensively. I'm surprised he still has a job. He needs to go to China and talk to Stephen Marbury and maybe get a job over there. But I think he's only got a job in the NBA all the time. You know, they're waiting for Thomas to come back.
Based on his name, I don't know. When we had Rose last year at the Knicks, I did love him, but the fact I kind of how to word it. The fact he's not there, I'm actually seeing how much we struggle defensively with him. So that doesn't surprise me that he's ranked that low. I
mean, for me, I always go to the eye test, sometimes more than stats, but for me, the stats basically back up the eye test for me, and that's exactly it with him. He cannot defend in the NBA any longer. I mean, when you think about it, he was an all-star, you know, the injuries kind of got to him, MVP of the league.
Very much, yeah.
He's really now at a point where we can say pretty much his NBA career is over, because I wouldn't know who's going to pick him up if they do get rid of him.
I'm a fan. I'd like to have him. I mean, I'm glad he's not on the Knicks this year, but I wouldn't say his career is over. I think of the right team. I actually thought he would thrive in Cleveland, so we'll see how the rest of the season plays out.
I think the thing is he's been asked to do maybe more than originally hoped for because obviously the injury situation, but even so, it's been a train wreck.
Yeah, it has been a train wreck. I'll give you that.
Sticking on the 5 games, Grizzlies have lost the last 5. They're mounting with their injury woes right now. So, what are your views there? Is this something to be concerned about, or again, are we just in November, not to panic?
I think with the Grizzlies, it is definitely don't panic mode. I mean, the Grizzlies have had a lot of injuries. I think the main concern for me that I would worry about is the fact that Conley seems so, he's got off to a really bad start. For me, when Conley first came in the league, he was a guy you thought, I don't know, how's he going to make out in this league? But in every single year, he improved year on, year out. And I think he finally got the credit, and people started taking notice of him and what a good player he was. Now he's just completely taken a massive step backwards. He's a big part of what they do defensively. They're struggling in that respect. They're still trying to find, Chandler Parsons in this role. I mean, Parsons is a guy that's obviously played around the league a bit now, but it's a real struggle for them. And I think the only thing they've got out of this is their rookies played incredibly well. He's come in. He's the guy that's now all of a sudden they're given a lot of responsibility to. So Dylan Brooks has definitely benefited from being in the NBA. And I think I wouldn't worry too much, but obviously 2-8 in their last 10, lost 5 in a row. We've talked about them against the Rockets recently. They've already played the Rockets 4 times. And that to me is a prime example of that. They won the 2 early meetings against the Rockets when they're playing very, very well. They then lost the 2 latter meetings against the Rockets when they're not playing so well. So which Grizzlies team is it? I still think it's more the former.
Yeah, and I back that up. I completely agree, actually. I think from team to team, my kind of sayings change. But this is, early in the season. I'm not a big fan of Memphis. I think they're that in between thing. I think Conley actually may be somewhere else by the end of the season. I think they've had their established older stars, which are now a little too old, and then the younger guys, which you mentioned, they're coming up. So I think they're just a team caught in the middle right now. I
think the thing is now, all of a sudden, they gave Conley that big contract, and now that contract looks awful if this is what we're going to see going forward. I wouldn't like to think it is, and I think maybe we're blowing this a little bit out of proportion, certainly from Conley's point of view, but it's not good for the Grizzlies. And the thing is, well, I mean, again, we talk about the Western Conference being very, very deep. They've got to get these guys healthy, and I think that's the main thing they've got to do. I'm not saying to use injuries as an excuse, but I think in terms of Memphis is a prime example. Their starting 5 unit that they thought they would have from opening night going forward, they have actually played together 0 minutes in the NBA this season. 0 minutes, not one single minute they played as a unit. That is harmful to any team.
No, of course. Yeah. Any team, any sport. That's
you just hope that for the team they recognise it earlier on enough.
Exactly.
I mean, I think it's given the opportunity for guys to kind of step up and say. I mean, Dylan Brooks is a prime example of that, but they're going to want to get healthy because at the end of the day, they're going to try and the only way they can compete in the Western Conference is with Gasol playing well, with Conley playing well, and the team being that defensive stranglehold they put on other teams. And at the moment, we're just not seeing it.
Twisting it up to a little bit more positive, we're going to talk about Victor Oladipo. He's kind of obviously been seen as a leader, but the stats, we're only just kind of starting to look at it a little bit more. So I'm going to read it because I'm not going to remember off the top of my head. We're averaging 22.9 points, 5.2 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 1.7 assists, while shooting 45.8% from the field. So are we looking at him as a potential all-star?
I don't know about all-star. Maybe actually selected by the coaches now. But I'm a big fan of Oladipo, and I think the fact he went to college in Indiana, he started there, going back there, that's a thing. And he was with the Thunder. I just think that Thunder, there's something there that I don't want to call it like a farm system, but they had Harden, Westbrook, Durant, and I'm not putting Oladipo in there, but he's in that mold. And I think I would have actually liked to see him stay in Oklahoma. I think he would have really progressed more than he has now. Saying that, those numbers don't lie. So I'm a big fan. I wouldn't be surprised to see him at All-Star Weekend.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see him at All-Star Weekend. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be definitely picked up as one of the reserves and, you know, be available in the fantasy draft when we get that far. I think for me, I mean, it kind of shows off the situation in OKC in so much as, apart from Durant, it seems that everyone that goes through OKC benefits from actually leaving there.
That's it.
They actually go on to do bigger and better things, and Oladipo is just the latest prime example of that. I think it is part of coming home. I mean, he seems to love playing in Indiana, so I think being able to do that has certainly helped him. He's shooting very well from three-point range, and he's showing a lot of versatility as well with his three-point shot. He seems that he's taking it in a variety of ways, whether it be a pull-up, whether it be, you know, he's not all of a sudden having to make that shot from an open standpoint. His true shooting percentage is also up. I think for me that he's taken his game to another level, and I think it's exciting times because at the end of the day, people took a look at the Paul George deal and went, hang on a second here, you know, they've got Paul George basically on the cheap, and now we're looking at it. You know, you'd probably have to say that Oladipo is probably the best player in that deal.
Oh yeah.
You know, Paul George really hasn't settled in OKC. He can't see the ball. Oladipo's all of a sudden seeing more of the ball in Indiana. So I think the Pacers, we looked at a team as maybe where do they go from here, and all of a sudden the Pacers playing very well in the Eastern Conference. Seems that a lot of teams now playing much better in the East.
That's it. And Oladipo, I mean, he gets to be the man in Indiana.
Exactly.
So I think, you know, a bit more freedom there. And yeah, no, he, as I said, I'm a big fan of his.
Coach McMillan has come out as well and said that he expects big things from him. He's very much sponge-like.
Right.
He's learning from him. So he's actually one of those players who has the ability to be a great player alongside that leadership role. Yeah. So I think it will be definitely one to keep an eye out for come February.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that because, I mean, Nate McMillan was a guy when he played in the NBA I felt one of the more intelligent players that's played in the NBA. Yeah. So for him, you know, to take an interest in Oladipo seems like very, very open to sit there and watching film. I mean, I think McMillan came out and said he hasn't seen a player watch as much film as Oladipo has. So he's really taking it on board how he can actually improve his game, and that can only be good for him. Definitely learn from a guy like McMillan.
So I'm now popping out of the NBA for a moment.
Right.
I'm going to be looking at get my words out. 19-year-old, 6'10", Michael Porter Jr. Obviously, he was looking to be a top draft pick for next June. He's now having to have spinal surgery, which is going to see him out for the rest of this year. There's obviously talk, is he going to remain and become a sophomore for a following year, or will he get the opportunity to go straight into the deep end as such? Views?
I think this is an interesting one because, for me, had he stayed healthy, had Missouri been a top team in the NCAA this season, with him being a big part of that, I think he would have been a one-and-done guy. The issue is now, with him not playing this season, he has come out and said at one point that if for whatever reason this NCAA season was a bit of a disaster, he would be open to coming back for a second season. But of course that doesn't take into account the fact that he's had an injury, and you're putting the opportunity of being a lottery pick on the line, because a lot of people either had him as a top pick, or like certainly a top 3 pick, and I don't think he'll fall from that. I think he will be a top 3 pick if he does actually declare to be in the NBA draft. I mean, the Bulls were hovering around that 3 spot. I would love him in Chicago. I think Dallas is another good example of a place that he could also go and benefit. I mean, he is a guy that can do multiple things. He's good in transition. He can run the floor. He's very good defensively. He's great on the boards. He can knock down a 3-point shot. There is so many different facets to his game that can transition very well to the NBA. And I think for he would be a guy that a lot of teams would want to take a look at. And I don't necessarily think you can have an example of, you know, out of sight, out of mind with him, because, I mean, going back to the NCAA tournament last year, Markel Fultz did not play in the NCAA tournament, and he still was the #1 pick in the draft. Some people talked about maybe Josh Jackson being the top pick, but Jackson didn't particularly play that well. So Fultz carried on being the #1 overall pick. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be a bad thing, but it's going to be an interesting thing of whether or not he actually does now declare.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know too much about it. I actually stay away from, I like the professionals. I don't like the amateur punk stuff. He's, you know, playing against kids. But those numbers and stuff, I mean, you know, go back to like LeBron, you knew he was going to be a star. And I wouldn't say he's going to be a LeBron, but you know this guy's going to be good. The one thing that concerns me is he originally went to sign for Washington, or
he did.
Letter of intent to play Washington. They got a new coach. He decided, I'm going to move. So he's already moved once. I just think there's some guy maybe who's, I don't know, did he need the surgery? Was that like, I didn't see it, did he get injured in the game? Or is it kind of a thing like, I'm going to sit out this year, get the surgery now, I'm going to declare That's kind of what I see it happening. That threw me.
From what I understand, the actual injury didn't actually take place during game action, so it's one of those things that it has happened. He's actually decided to get this done, and it's right for him to do so. I do think he's going to make 100% recovery, so he hasn't got to worry about it from that particular point of view. I think again he's right to get it done now. It's not great, obviously, for the collegiate program, but unfortunately he's got to look out for himself. And I personally, if I was him, and I'm not his agent or anything like that, I would declare.
Yeah. So also, what I'm aware of is where he's at the moment. His dad is assistant coach.
Is it?
His dad is assistant coach. He also plays with his brother.
Right.
And both of his sisters in the women's league at the same place. So that would answer that question.
Okay, keeping the family close. But I don't know. There's something that maybe goes with these rules. And colleges now is one and done. You have to play 1 year. So this is his 1 year. Yeah. Maybe he goes in there thinking, I'm not playing where I wanted to play at Washington. I'm now with the family here. Let me get the surgery now. Then I can go to next year in the NBA. That's I'm completely made that up. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's something along those lines.
Time will tell.
Very much so.
We need to stop saying that.
I haven't for a couple of weeks.
I know. I felt like today was appropriate.
Yeah.
This next point, purposely dropping this bomb, is either going to make Steve talk more or shut him up completely. Aha. So,
I can guess what this is.
Lonzo Ball. So, obviously, another triple-double this last weekend. LeVar's recently come out. Of course, missed that news. That would be epic. But no, LeVar has come out and said that he thinks that Coach Walton's currently babying him too much. He needs a little bit of hard love. They're being too soft. I know you didn't want to talk about Lonzo anymore, but I'm sorry. He obviously watched last week's episode and has decided to make himself a talking point.
Right.
So
give him credit on that.
We'll give him credit. Nick, I'm going to go with you to start with this one.
Thankfully.
Oh Lord. I actually wanted to hear Steve. Nah, I mean. You get a triple-double, that's good. Last week we mentioned the triple-double is not what it was.
No.
It's not, but my thing is he is the point guard. He's getting the rebounds, 16 rebounds the other day as a point guard. I mean, that's good no matter who it is. I'm not going to say he's now all of a sudden, a star because he's had a triple-double. But there are signs he's going to make his way. But it's just too much too soon. I mean, we kind of mentioned, I saw him play last night where I actually saw he shot an air ball and his team, 6 straight possessions, they didn't even look in his direction to pass him the ball. And I think that from that told me a lot.
Makes a point of
that,
yeah. Time to take a seat. Time to take a seat. I'm just gonna move on to the next point.
I literally have not much to say. I mean, I think I've hammered home the point about the triple-double. It is not a great stat. Yeah, okay, he got another triple-double. And what? He shot 5 out of 13.
That's right.
Great, so the guy can't shoot. He gets long rebounds because more three-point shots are being taken. He's willing to give up the ball because he's too timid to take a shot. So, yeah, of course he's got a much better chance of getting a triple-double. He's not getting to the line, so he needs to make 4 to 5 field goals in a game to potentially give himself a shot at a triple-double. I think the thing is for me with him is I do feel a bit sorry from a point of view of the fact that there is so much pressure on him. I honestly think that they need to kind of shut LeVar Ball out of everything, try and concentrate on Lonzo, get him on the bench, just try and get him coming in with a second unit a bit more. See if he can show some leadership skills with the second unit. I think that's where it needs to go because at the moment he's been completely overshadowed by Kuzma. I mean, Kuzma has been fantastic this season for the Lakers, but every time we look at a box score, we watch a game, is everyone looks what Kuzma's done, everyone looks what Ball's done. It's like, well, why is it that way around? Because that's the way we expected it. And the problem is, I just think you just need to kind of take him out of the limelight a bit and just kind of try and bring him along. I mean, they've said they won't look at the shot until the end of the season because you can't really start messing around during season. And I think then give the guy some time, give him a chance, get his confidence up. Because at the moment, I mean that's what it is. We all say that it is the fact, it is the confidence at the moment that's hitting him. And he's not able to make a shot.
He's definitely inside his own head.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's inside his own head. His dad's inside his head. Everyone, whatever.
I don't like the whole, the LeVar coming out saying the coaches are coaching too soft. I mean, it's excuse.
Yeah, I was going to say his words were the fact that they should be winning.
Yeah.
So
the Lakers are not even a playoff team. That's the thing. Walton is a good coach. I have no problem with him whatsoever, but for me, or it's going to lead to a point of where I think LeVar wants his coach to basically coach his son.
Yeah,
and that's what he wants because Walton. Yeah, it's probably him because Walton's not probably his type of coach. He wants him out of there. So he's kind of doing a LeBron from the sidelines.
Yeah,
LeVar for you, though, isn't
It's
it?
LeVar for you.
So now moving on, Paul Millsap. Obviously, he's out indefinitely after a wrist injury at the weekend. That's going to be quite a big thing for the Nuggets. Obviously, I know he's a key player for them. What are your takes on it? Do you think it's going to make a difference?
Well, I'm sure it will. I mean, I like Paul Millsap. He's a good player. I don't know. I don't think Utah were. I mean, they may be a playoff team. There or thereabouts with or without him. I don't think it's going to make a big difference to their season one way or the other without him.
Yeah.
Well, Utah won't be a playoff team without Millsap because it's the Denver Nuggets.
But there you go. There you go. Even worse. Even worse.
But the thing is with Millsap is
That's
that
how much I like him.
Yeah. He was a free agent signing for them. I mean, not many players have actually ever wanted to go to Denver as a free agent, so it was a big move for them to have to get him in. They were playing incredibly well. They were 6th in the Western Conference, but I think it now just puts a lot more pressure on everyone else around him. I mean, Jokic has just been tremendous for them. The best passing centre in the NBA by a long way. He can do things that a lot of players can't do, that the point guards around in the league. But again, that is that European type player. But I think it'll be interesting exactly how they go about this, because I mean, Kenneth Faried is, I think you have to think he's going to potentially get more playing time.
Definitely.
I mean, he's got a guy that's got like a big contract there that they've tried to move, but now all of a sudden he could become quite valuable to them. Or do they go small? Do they go 3 guard rotation and then basically play Wilson Chandler at the 4? And I think that is another interesting option for them. They're a good passing team, but I think this will hit them. 6th place at the moment in the West. You have to think they're going to drop out of the Western Conference playoff contention. They're going to get Millsap back, and they're pretty much going to have a hell of a streak going towards the end of the season now to make the playoffs.
So the ratings were dead even with him on the bench. So hopefully it shouldn't be a huge impact.
But it's the thing is as well is the ratings are the same with him on the bench, but you've now got all these minutes you're going to have to find a way to divide up now, whereas obviously Millsap was having those minutes on the court. I do fear for Denver, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the next 2 to 3 weeks, whether or not they do decide to give Faried more playing time, or whether they do decide to go small.
I think that seems to be the common consensus.
Yeah, he's older, so it's not a bad thing to get a chance for some of the younger guys to play.
Yeah.
But Millsap, what used to
opportunity.
Be Utah,
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Then he went to
Go back to
Atlanta.
Utah.
With every pain comes growth. Opportunity for the team.
Very nice.
So I'm just going to touch finally on a little point, because it's quite amusing. So Fox News were in New York at the weekend talking about scaffolding, because that is a key news topic. They bump into Klay Thompson, not realising who on earth he is, ask him his views on scaffolding, and apparently he actually paid quite a bit of attention to scaffolding. I guess being so tall,
yeah, you gotta look out for it.
You've got to look out, so he assesses it. But yeah, the reporter had no idea who he was.
That's
brilliant.
That's cringe.
To me, that was one of the funniest stories of this week, and for it to be on Fox News for me was just hilarious. The reporter didn't know, but the cameraman did, and fair play to Klay. He played along with it, but it is a
humble. Is it a humble?
It's humble.
What's the word I'm trying? Humbling? That's not a word.
Humbling.
Humbling experience.
I'm having one of those days.
That's
a humbling experience for him. Humbling experience.
Yeah, I mean, but I think the more serious issue in this, in some respects, is the fact you've got what was the 2nd best player on the Warriors, now the 3rd best player on the Warriors, you could say. And there are people out there who don't know who he is. But then again, you don't get basketball fans in New York, so I'm not really surprised.
He had a hat on, so maybe you couldn't tell who he was. He was wearing a hat.
Yeah.
On that note,
New York fans have stopped watching the NBA years ago.
Okay, so guys, thank you for watching this week's review show. We hope you like it. We know you did, so you might as well just click that like button now. Make sure you hit subscribe so that you don't miss out on next week's episode. See you later. Bye.
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 You gotta keep your eye on the ball, boys. Check out our latest hoops offer. RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.